proud as a couple that's coming together. We've done over $500,000 in brand deals with some of the.
Come on now.
Yeah,
When we started to work together, we quickly saw how much our marriage was enriched and reached a whole level that we never knew was even possible for us. But couples are supposed to work together. Couples are designed, marriage is designed to be fruitful. Created then the woman to be his partner, not to just have children, not to just keep him company, but to multiply, to take dominion, to become fruitful.
A helpmate. Yeah.
I'm not a flexer, but one flex I get is that my work wife is my
Flex on them.
my work wife is my real wife, y'all.
Come on now. We don't need no work wife.
We worked with a brand. Like, we didn't have to worry about our mortgage for 3 years. Like, just
My
for
gosh.
one deal. Yeah.
On my next date, my first question is, listen, are you willing to do brand deals when we get married? Welcome to the Faith Hustle Podcast, where we help young Christian entrepreneurs learn how to build their business and careers God's way. My name is McQuenda, and I'm your host, and I've been an entrepreneur for almost 10 years, and I've been blessed to have so many amazing mentors and guides along my journey that helped me to build my business. But they weren't just great business owners. They built amazing families, and they had amazing depths in their faith. And that's what we're trying to pursue here at Faith Hustle. We teach on 5 pillars. We teach on being spirit-led. We teach on stewardship, on humility, on integrity, and in generosity. And if those things resonate with you, yeah, that's what's something I'm trying to build in my business. We encourage you to tap in and follow along with us on this journey. Subscribe to the YouTube channel or wherever you listen to on your audio devices. And we're going somewhere with this, and we're growing together. Also, we want to encourage you, if you've been encouraged by this podcast, to leave a review. It really helps us to get this out to more people so it can bless more people. And on today's show, we have some very, very new friends to me, but dear people in my life. Troy and Shantel Brooks is in the building, and virtually in the building, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for having
these guys are, I want to get into a bit of, honestly, kind of how we met, and even some things that transpired recently. We're going to get into their story. They have an incredible one. They're amazing married couple that they make content together as a family. And they talk about something that they're going to get into called Spartners, your spouse as a business partner. And so we're going to get into all of that. But we got to tell the story of how, when we got connected, it was over Instagram. And, we hopped on a Zoom call, and just, it was just, right away, just alignment, and just, just with our hearts and our spirits. And I ended up, they were looking for a church. And I remembered I got some family that Paul Miller that started a church in the greater Atlanta area. And I was like, you know what, y'all should just connect. And like, who knows, maybe something could happen. He's got a great church out there. Shout out to Experience Hope. And I was like, hey, maybe something could happen, and maybe you can finish it. What kind of took place, but it was a cool moment.
Bro, we can't that was just a divine connection. And like, no, seriously, I mean, you plugged me in with Paul, and within 24 hours, I sent you a selfie with me and Paul.
Yeah,
sitting at
literally
the coffee shop, and you were just like, what? And I was like, yeah,
it's
man.
Crazy.
It was just honestly, it was a testament to you and how much he loves and respects you, that he was able to connect with me that fast. He was like, let's meet. I was like, you want to meet? He's like, bet, let's meet tomorrow. And we live in Atlanta, but we just moved here 2.5 years ago from New York. So that quick hustle, we got to go get it mentality.
Yeah.
Energy, that's how we operate. So I'm like, say less. You want to bet. And it was just like, again, a divine connection, man. We just truly hit it off with Paul, and ended up speaking like a little bit later at his church which was
It's
just
crazy. Yeah, you sent me a photo of like, yeah, like you're saw a video you're on stage speaking at a church. And I'm like, how did this happen? It
God,
was
man.
so awesome.
And the divine
Yeah,
alignment is that literally just days before meeting you, we were
yeah,
praying for more speaking engagements,
yeah,
opportunities, because
hmm
we know what God has
Wow.
blessed us with and put on
yeah,
our heart that
yeah,
the world needs to hear. So like, okay, God, like we're ready.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
so literally by the end, in a few weeks,
yeah,
he invited us to Hope Experience Church, where
yeah,
we were
man.
able to just build with
Yeah,
him and Jenny
yeah,
and the
Yeah.
congregation. And
yeah,
so we thank you so much
yeah,
uh, for that.
yeah. That connection is just like life changing, bro.
Wow. Hey, my pleasure. And I mean, Paul again, like Paul's dad taught me how to play drums, and I mean, we've known each other our whole lives, and families and all that. But it's just awesome to see what God does. My dad always used to say, I feel like I'm going to change this podcast, Jason, to my dad used to say, because I say that in every episode. But genuinely, my dad used to tell me, relationships are your greatest resource.
Oh,
And so if I can connect relationships, you just never know what could happen. And so I was honored to be a part of that story for y'all. And you guys are about to get ordained like through that ministry. So it's just awesome. It's cool what's going on.
Wild story.
wild ride,
Yeah.
man. Buckle up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But we got to get into what you guys do. I mean, we had a great Zoom call, and I was like, man, we got to have y'all on, and it's incredible. One, y'all have done almost a half a million in brand deals together as a couple and through your Instagram and social media platforms. But I'd love to hear a bit of your story. One, obviously, how you got into the content space, because I think that can help a lot of people, especially those who are married and they feel maybe a call to it. I have some really dear friends, Esther and Cody. Shout outs if you're watching. They're literally just got married and they're making content together, and it's cool. They're both business owners, to seeing them do their thing. Y'all, I'm gonna connect y'all too.
Plug us.
Don't worry.
What up,
Yeah.
Steve?
Come on. But it's amazing to see this more of a trend where maybe honestly it probably wasn't. So I'd love to hear the story, how you guys got into it, a bit of your journey, and then we'll kind of have fun and kind of go from there. I got a lot of good questions for you guys.
Oh, we're ready, man. You want to kick it off? You want me
Sure.
to?
Yeah. All right. Express version. So Troy and I have been friends since middle school, since junior high school,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
we maintained friendship along all the years. We had it was always platonic, always friends, and then one day, we
Come on now. He stepped out the friend zone. Come on, somebody.
In the name of God. In the
Yes.
name of Jesus.
And
We
this is,
did it.
Hey.
he would always invite me. So Troy will talk more about his entrepreneurial spirit, but he's always been a
Yeah.
wild spirit.
Yeah.
For the entrepreneurial space, community builder, into wellness and fitness, and he did a lot, but he'll share that. And so in one of these seasons, he was a club promoter, used to always invite me to clubs. And we were in these streets.
Okay.
We were
We was
definitely
outside.
outside.
We were really outside.
We were really outside.
Come on now.
He promoted clubs. I love to go to clubs, and
Yeah.
like this is back in the 2000s,
Back
right?
in the 2000s.
Back in the day,
Oh, this is in the club era. Dun,
In the
dun,
club
dun,
era.
dun.
Exactly.
we don't wait on lines, okay? Ladies, my age, you know what I'm talking about. And so
That is
having a
hilarious.
friend was always awesome.
Yeah.
But I actually always said no, because I
Yeah.
just was like, oh, no thanks. And then one day
Curving me, bro.
he
Stay
decided
curving.
he moved
Dang.
to LA for a little bit. And a mutual friend was like, guess what I ran into Troy. And so I'm like, let me see what's up with Troy. And all of a sudden his profile picture on Facebook spoke to me a little different.
Woo!
It hit a little different.
Come on now. That wasn't that middle schooler.
Yeah. And
There was a
so
shift.
Yep.
there was a huge shift. And so both of us were engaged prior.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wait, is he still engaged? Is like, do I see his fiance? And I didn't see any picture of any woman anywhere. And I was scrolling. And so but when I was scrolling,
Rebrand.
He said, no. We gonna make it clear. We're
We
gonna
gonna
have my hand in the
Make it very
picture.
clear.
Make
Yeah.
it clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna make it clear.
Yes. And what he also made
Yeah.
clear was that he was a man of God,
Yeah.
that he was really into his wellness and
Yeah.
fitness, and just like he enjoyed good food, he enjoyed having fun.
Yeah, man.
He was on dates, because you'd see like two hands in a picture, and you're like, okay, I
Oh, you was slick like that. Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
moving.
So long story short, I asked
Yeah.
him to train me, right?
Hmm.
Like, cause why not? And so
Oh, okay. Okay. You did the first
He
move.
was
I
plotting,
I
bro.
sure did.
And she ain't even need no trainer.
I didn't need a trainer, and I definitely
Listen.
I
Dang.
definitely didn't need to commute 45 minutes into New York City from the suburbs for a
Yeah.
trainer.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't need that either. But
Wow.
he
I
trained,
love it.
and then nine
Yeah.
months later we were
Yeah.
engaged, and 9 months after that we were married.
Yeah.
And it's been 10 years
Dang.
by the grace of God.
10 years.
And
Come on.
so for most of our relationship,
Yeah.
15 years to be exact, I was in education. I started as a teacher, then went
Yep.
to a teacher leader, then I co-founded a school, then I was the school building
My
administrator,
goodness.
district
Yeah.
leader.
Yeah.
And so I was in the education space, educational administration space for a very long time.
Yeah.
And ever since I started, I knew I never even wanted to be there. It was kind of like by default. And I just wanted to get back to what I loved, which was video production, creating content. And this is, for the news or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be. And so I knew that I was dying of this like slow, painful death, spiritual death. And I found Christ. Well, I always was seeking him out. I wasn't raised in a like religious home. We were Christian,
Yeah.
but just to fast forward, I found my way. And so I didn't have the terminology or the understanding of like like living my purpose driven life. And I would read books and they were spiritual, but they were definitely not Christian based or faith based.
Right. Yeah.
And so I just didn't know. So I just kept going, but I knew that it didn't feel good inside until finally in 2021 I left the profession. So that's me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's
Yeah.
happening
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she met me like reintroduction. We've always been friends, but like when she came back into my life, I was party promoting by night, 19-year club promoter in the city. Like during the time, like when
Oh, dang.
I would see Jay-Z in the club. Like I was doing all the parties with everyone that you can think of. The show BMF that 50 has out, I can tell you real stories of sharing space with brothers and like just really being outside. So I was
Dang.
doing clubs by night, right, and doing training by day. And literally, I would say probably 85% of my clientele were people that I knew through nightlife. They were bottle girls, they were club owners. I had street dudes that I was bringing from
Yeah.
club to the gym,
Dang.
then to church though, bro. Like, yeah,
Wow. What a okie doke. Okay.
crazy. So
He said, "Fishers of men, we
yeah,
gonna be out here."
man, like there's levels, right? But so I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah, I've always, I wouldn't say that I don't like working for people. Matter of fact, I don't. I don't like working for people.
You're like, actually, you know what?
Yeah,
That's kind of the whole reason why I do this.
absolutely. Like I do like working with people. So I love working with people. I love finding commonality. Like we have a goal and an outcome, but we understand that we're
Right.
working there to get there together, right? So
Right.
that's always been something that I stood for. But yeah, 19-year club promoter, turned personal trainer, lost over 100 pounds in my own fitness and wellness journey. And
Wow.
people lose hundreds of pounds, just get stronger, feel better, more confident in the skin that God gave them. And God really used me in that time. And I didn't know at the time that that was my ministry. Like I was serving people, even in the nightlife, bringing, like I said, I knew dudes in the street that I was like, I don't want you getting jammed up. I don't want you getting in trouble. You got all this money, come to the club, buy some bottles, hang out. There's going to be girls there, right? Like that was my goal at that time. Like get them out of the street. Then I got them out of the street, right? So I get them out of the street. I get them in the club scene. We're having a good time. But they saw my change. They saw other people's change. I started training them. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, they just want to prioritize their health and their longevity. As we get older, you don't want to do the same thing. So people's perspectives started shifting, right? And then, now I'm in church. And at that time, we were in Hillsong. We got married through Hillsong. One of the lead pastors
Oh,
at
wow.
Hillsong married us. We went through 5 months marital counseling. Like it was like we were immersed in that church for a long time. But we were bringing people to God, like bringing people from the club, bringing people that were, that could have got jammed up to God. And we didn't know what we were doing, but we just knew this is like what we were doing. So like, come, like I got this really dope place for you to go, The whole
Yeah.
thing was like work hard, play hard. So I never really knew, again, like Chantel, I didn't have the language that this was ministry. but just I always had and then like because I was a trainer, um, God blessed me with LL Bean as a sponsor, two-time Lululemon global ambassador, Men's Health magazine, Pop Sugar, you name it, 2019 best fitness instructor. So like my following grew crazy because of like the relationships that we built with brands and the exposure in magazines. Back then, you grew your following not through someone repurposing your reels and things like that. It was press. It was really moving
That's
and
wild.
establishing
Yeah.
relationships off screen that helped also project you further on screen. I always say that I kind of got into the influencer marketing space, so to speak, before it really, really was what it is today. Like
He's like the uncle
I'm
of
like
it.
a I'm like a unk.
The
You know what I mean?
the unk. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I had a big following before, then got hacked, lost that following, grew a following again, and then the vertical kind of just changed as I grew. I didn't want to just be pigeonholed and marginalized as like the fitness guy. I knew there were more parts of my life. I wanted to show how fitness showed up and how wellness showed up in my life, but that I was more than that. And that's when the brand really kind of shifted and pivoted and really just took off for us. That's like the short story. Then I begged her to join me.
Yeah. So I would
Yeah.
always assist him in his content creation while I was
Yeah.
working, as like my school building leader self.
Yeah.
And it was cool, it was fun, but I honestly didn't really respect his work. I was like,
Yeah.
whatever, like you're just on like Instagram and like, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I
I'm
was
out here doing the real work with
yeah,
these
I was
kids.
real work
Yeah.
as I like
Yeah.
had my laptop up with all my papers and my glasses on.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
he asked me to work
Yeah.
with him, and I was like, nope, there's no way. I didn't leave. I graduated from Columbia
Yeah.
University. Like I was on getting my doctorate. There's
Yeah.
no
Okay.
way this Ivy League student
Yeah.
was going to like leave my job to like help you with your social media influencing or content creation. Like And so
Right.
I really had my ego in the way, and
Yeah.
and so it took me like a good 6 to 8 months where I was really deep into prayer, mindfulness, and just
Yeah.
exploration of who I was
Yeah.
because I had 15 years of me truly living in what society told me I was and not me living in who I knew I was and who
Come
God
on.
had created me to be in his image.
Yeah.
And so it took
That's
a
good.
lot of time
Yeah.
to take off the layers and unpack my own self and my own
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I tried everything underneath the sun of things that I like interest me. I was like,
Oh
I could be a
God.
doula, I could be a fitness
Lord.
coach, I could be a I could
We
go,
we prayed for my patience during that 8 months.
I tried everything. Like, you put all the labels that I had that I was interested in, and then finally I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I actually love creating like videos. Like
Yeah.
video production was something
Mm.
I was doing in junior high school because of my awesome magnet school I was in.
Yeah.
I love storytelling and creating scripts. I love writing. I
Yeah.
love being behind the scenes and editing. Like you have so much power and control over that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I love being a content creator. I finally
I
said, all
love
right,
that.
I'm gonna try this full time
Come
and let's see how
on.
this goes.
And what did God do? He anointed that thing. He blessed it, and he blessed us with brand deals and partnerships with some of the biggest brands in the world. And we've been proud as a couple as coming together. We've done over $500,000 in brand deals with some of the
Come on now.
yeah. So I mean, God has just blessed us in a way where even our kids are like, can we create some content? Are we creating content? Like we were able to like establish anything that they're in, creating a business funnel for them to invest. You know what I mean? So like every deal we've done, we
Yeah, yeah.
take money for them and put away for them and do things for them. You know what I mean? And just spark. I pray that we our kids want to be entrepreneurs. Whatever they want to do, we'll support them. But if I can just,
Yeah, yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Guide them that
Yeah.
way to create something that's awesome. Like it's just such a good feeling.
I love that. Oh man, there's so many different directions I want to go in this. And your story is fast. It really is fascinating. Honestly, I think the thing that I was most intrigued by, one, how much humility it takes on both parties when you're married. And obviously I'm not married, but had parents that have great marriages. So it takes great humility to be on one team because, like you said, you were in your own lane, had a thriving career, great education background. You were doing your thing and coming together. And I know you kind of went past it as far as, you guys coming together and joining forces, but what kind of caused that? Like why why did you feel like it was necessary to do that? Because that's a challenge, you know, like, again, one person doing it and supporting that spouse, that's one thing, but for you to both be doing it this in the same respect is tough. What made you decide that it was better for you both to do it?
Yeah.
So, such a great question. And, when you look at our marriage and business lane and our spiritual development, they kind of go parallel with each other in such great alignment. Once we moved to Atlanta literally as a faith move. We've never visited here. We had no family, no friends. We didn't know anything
Wow.
about where we lived, where we moved to at all, except that it was brand new and that we really felt like God truly led us here.
Yeah.
And so once we moved
Wow.
here, we totally leaned into our faith.
Yeah.
And again, this was still, we had a very important encounter that we'll get to.
Yeah.
This is pre-encounter with Christ,
Yeah.
with which was what we call our second blessing. But we knew that we had to lean into our faith. And so shortly after we moved here, I was 8+ months pregnant.
Yeah.
We had a home birth against all odds,
In our
against all
bedroom.
people saying, this is dangerous.
Ooh.
I had an emergency C-section with our first, so the risk of having whatever, that's another pod, I'm sure. But the point is that we
Yeah.
knew that God said, this is what y'all have to do to
Yeah.
protect your health and your child.
Yeah.
And so literally everything that kept coming was such an act of faith.
Yeah.
And so now you fast forward after my 6 to 8 months of trying to really figure out, like, where is it that I need to go? How do I have this purpose-driven life? What does God want for me? I was sitting one day and I looked to my right and I saw Troy playing with our little child, our baby, and they were having such a good time. And I'm just like, man, like, here we are, still separate. Like, when we came here, we knew that whatever we were going to do, it was going to give us autonomy. It was going to give us more quality time. It was going to fulfill us. It was going to put us in alignment with our calling. And again, we didn't even realize at the time that our marriage has a purpose. Yes, individually we have assignments
Come on,
and
baby,
purposes,
tell
but our
them.
marriage has a purpose, our oneness. Yeah, and so I was like, you know what? Here we are doing it again.
Yeah.
Here we are, like, taking, like, okay, it's your turn with baby, it's my turn, it's you got to do this. It was still so segmented, and that is not what oneness in marriage for our marriage was supposed to look like, and we knew that.
Right.
And so I said, you know what? I'm gonna try this. And he,
Yeah.
again, as he mentioned, he's been trying to, like, get me to join him. He had to work a lot through that too, because like you said, like, he had a great thing going. So me joining forces was a lot, but it really was
Say,
just,
we did one piece of content, bro, that was so insane. That at that very moment, I got a download from God. It was like, you're not done trying to convince her. Like, she needs to understand at this very moment that this is a sign. Like, we are meant to work together, despite what culture says, despite what society says, despite what our friends or other people that don't understand our assignment think about working with your spouse. Like, this is it. Like, I knew that with my whole heart. Like, that for me, that one piece of content literally was like, I can't stop asking her. Like, I'm just going to annoy her every day. And really, like, all right, I'll give this a shot.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it really was, it really, like, again, it's not even knowing what is taboo, what, like, you're just so focused on us and being authentic to us and our feelings, and how do we use our strengths. And we saw that with content creation, like, no longer was he left alone. B, no longer did I, like, really just be like, whatever, like, this is not a real job, because I learned quickly, like, oh,
Right.
this is a whole
You're in the
job.
thick of
I'm
it.
20.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm not Petty Murphy, because if I was keeping score receipts on how I was using my phone or how I was doing things, like, she learned early on that this content, especially on a professional level with usage rights, indemnification, exclusivity, all this stuff. If you wear 5, 6, 7, 8 hats when you're a professional content creator and you're working with brands on a high level, it's no joke.
Right, and, like, the patience you need. You're only communicating really through email for most of the, so I appreciated what he did, which means I respected him more. And as a woman like myself, I was very independent, right? I was just very independent, And I really did not surrender fully to my husband.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I needed to, honestly. And
Yeah.
now that I actually respected, truly respected what he did,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to surrender. I was able to respect him,
Yeah.
and it just totally transformed our relationship. He got to
Yeah.
show me that he appreciates me, because I always wanted to feel appreciated and validated
Yeah.
and seen.
Yeah.
And he was like, wow, like I needed that.
Yeah.
And he was able to provide that. And so what allowed us to not only make this work, but make it like really thrive, was that we were able to see that our marriage exponentially got so much stronger
Come on,
in
girl.
communication, deeper in our intimacy.
Yeah.
There was we problem solved better, or
Yeah.
argued, however you want to call it, just so much
Yeah.
better. And so
Yeah.
now no longer were our conversations surface based, like,
Yeah.
oh, how was your day?
Yeah.
Okay, what'd you
Yeah.
have for
Yeah.
lunch today?
Yeah.
Now it was like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
my goodness, can you believe that? And so
Yeah.
we just, our relationship just
Yeah.
grew, and we're like, oh my goodness, this is
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
So like, let's keep optimizing our strengths,
Yeah.
leveraging our areas of opportunity, and
Yeah.
making this really, really, really be so successful for
Yeah.
us.
No, you just nailed it. I ain't got to.
That
She smoked.
that's so good. That's so. I there's so many questions that I have genuinely, even for myself, because when I think of when that time comes when I'm married, that's what I envision of. We're doing it together, whatever we're doing, like we're on the same team. It's now become a newer thing, right? Of even content creation, and whether it's online businesses or whatever it might be, where maybe 10, 15 years ago, you weren't seeing couples doing that, but you see a lot of it now. They got joint accounts and all this different stuff. I'd love to hear from you, because you guys explained so many of the benefits of it that probably a lot of people, they only think of the negative, right? So I guess I'd love to get even to some of the mechanics of how you make it work. So like, for example, how do you take content creator hat off and then put marriage hat on, or marriage hat on, and maybe that's not even the terminologies are the best way to look at it. But like, when do hey, this is a conversation. Hey, we are married and we're having a marriage conversation, or, I'm just curious how you make that work, because I can see someone being like, yeah, that works for you, but that could never work for me and my spouse. We can't do business together. Our worlds can't cross. But you guys have made some amazing points and thoughts here of like, no, it actually can strengthen it, because you can learn to respect that other person more, and all those different things when you humble yourself and all those different things. I'm just curious, like, what are some of the mechanics that help to make that work?
Well, I'll tell you, I laugh at this. Like, Chantel didn't tell you this, but on our first date, she, like, the heat on my neck, bro, was hot. Like, she made me test, right? She made me take a test called the Strength Finder, which is not a test that you take.
Oh, on the first date?
Oh,
I
Dang.
she got my consent
So I could order the
so
book.
she could order the book so that we can take the test, right? I talk about a woman who knew what she.
That was slick. Yeah.
But again, the test is not necessarily something that you take for your relationship. It's something that you take, at your job, to see the strengths that you have with your coworkers, right? But it's
Right,
beautiful
right.
because when we did take this test, we saw her strengths, my strengths, and how we complemented each other, right? So, I think even now in our marriage and in our Spartnership, which is what we call it, right? Our Spartnership is that, number one, we listen, right? So I'm an active listener, she's an active listener. We really, really bunker down and hone in on effective communication, which I think is extremely essential, and just understanding each other's gifts within our partnership truly helps us make sure that we have boundaries, we have non-negotiables. I am the fun guy, but I'm also the guy that's like, we're not going to work at this time. We're going to prioritize the marriage. Like, we do have this thing called MOB, which is marriage over business. So our business will always be okay as long as we prioritize our marriage. The same way our children will
Yeah.
always be okay is if we prioritize
Right.
marriage. So the marriage comes first. You know what I mean? Okay. One thing about me is I love that I get to work with my wife, but we are always going to do life together. So making sure that we have those boundaries, those non-negotiables, and those parameters put in place that allow us to make sure that our marriage is not being affected by business. I would even say so that because you work with your spouse, you just handle those things differently. Like,
Yeah.
yes, we argue. Let's not lie, right? Like, before we started, I was like, I was like, bro, she took my straw. You know what I mean? Like my piece of glass straw jacked me, right? But in all seriousness,
The New York came out of
yeah,
you.
right. But in all seriousness, like even the way we handle, problems, it's like we don't really look at the problem like you are the problem or I'm the problem, but we look at the problem as something that's in between us, and like how do we actually get
Mm,
this thing that's in between us out of the way, right? So I think like
mm.
but that's effective communication, that's active listening, right? So listening with the intent of actually hearing what might be the gripe, versus me just like I'm
Yeah.
waiting for you to stop so I can clap back, right? I'm not really even
Yeah, yeah.
then, like again, like I said, that petty stuff where it's like you're not listening to actually get this thing that's between you out of the way. You're trying to prove some point, So I think
Right.
that's like
Right.
definitely one of the ways.
And I'd also say that we don't aim for like a work life balance. Instead, we're
Yeah.
working for work life flow. So when you say, how do you take off the hat?
Mm.
It's we're constantly wearing the hats. We're
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. We
Yeah.
have startup businesses
Yeah.
happening as well. So
Yeah.
that takes a lot.
There's no such thing. Yeah.
Right, that
Yeah.
takes a lot of effort and time. However, what does help us practically is creating schedules. And
Yeah.
so we schedule
Everything.
marriage check-ins. And so on marriage check-in nights, that is where we devote at least an hour of time to discuss what is going on within our emotional needs and how we're being and how those needs are being met. We follow Dr. William Harley's His Needs, Her Needs book.
Yeah.
And in it, he talks about making a love bank and making deposits and withdrawals into this love bank, into our marriage,
Yeah.
based on our emotional needs. And
Yeah.
so if I know, if we have to communicate, first of all, I need to know my emotional needs. So it takes a level of emotional awareness, right? But then also I need to be able to communicate those needs. And so in these marriage check-ins that happen weekly for at least an hour, we discuss what are our needs. Are our needs still the same? Because your needs could literally change week by week depending on what goes on, right? And so
About to show them.
we want to share that with each other. We also in that just wanted to show
I just gotta show them.
Okay.
I gotta show them for anyone who sees this thing. Like, there's a color coded calendar. Every
Oh, y'all not playing games.
Yeah.
whole family has calendars.
Yes.
Our dog has a calendar.
I'm stealing that. I am putting that. I'm writing that down, and y'all should too.
Yeah.
Who are listening to this? I'm writing that down of having a marriage check. Y'all do it once a week or
Yes. So
how often?
So Dr. William Harley recommends having at least 2 hours a week to discuss this. We recommend at least 1 hour,
Yeah.
but we also, in addition to 1 hour of marriage check-ins, we definitely recommend prayer time together that we schedule in 2 times weekly. So we pray
Yeah.
together every day, but
Yeah.
these are like more like
Long, intentional.
yeah,
Longer.
they're just they're more rich. They're
I
more
love
for
it.
us. We're praying for like the world. We're praying for
Yeah.
different things.
I gotta
And
get
Yeah.
that too. So we do, like, I'm part of a men's fellowship Bible study, and the whole theme is renewal, and we've been reading Romans 12 for like a very long time, and we just kind of ended out of that. But I loved reading the entire Romans 12 so much that I wasn't ready to give it up, and I was like, babe, we need to read this together. So we have 2 times a week, so one prayer day. We literally read Romans 12, the entire thing, and then we
Wow.
brief like what stuck out to us from Romans 12. You know what I mean? So like that's just a hack for you guys out there that want to start something. I truly believe when you read Romans 12, it's teaching you how to really live like Jesus.
we also have
Wow.
family meeting time. And so as our kids get older, I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to the kids actually joining in on family meeting time. But that's
Yeah.
where we're discussing, what the kids have going on, what events are happening.
Yeah.
Right now they're so small, so it's pretty quick, and it's
Yeah.
usually involved in our
Yeah.
marriage check-in meeting. But as they get older, we look forward to actually having it's their own marriage check-in time.
Yeah.
And then with our business, we have business meetings. So just like you have team meetings at your work job,
Yeah.
we have business meetings too, and those happen where we exclusively are speaking about visions, goals, like everything you talk about in your business. But then we're doing that with just the two of us for now. So scheduling everything, we know if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen. And as Troy
Say
said,
that again, because they need to hear that. I don't play about that.
If
if
it,
it does, if it's
come
on
on.
the calendar, it doesn't happen. and
Yes.
and that includes prioritizing your marriage. And so with that, the last piece to this is one of Troy's emotional needs is recreational companionship.
Absolutely.
This is something that we didn't even really have a name for until we learned about these emotional needs.
Yeah.
And so because recreational companionship is such a high need for him, I have to make sure that I spend time recreationally with him
Yeah.
out in the outdoors
Outside.
usually. So
Gotta
he
be
loves
outside.
to walk, he loves to
Yeah.
whatever. So it's like,
love
okay, so we
Yeah.
schedule that too.
I like walking meetings. Like, if there's not, if we,
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
Seriously, like voice notes on the phone, right? We can write something down later, but let's get out. let's move, let's be active. We can take voice notes, but if the meeting doesn't necessarily need to be had at a table, I want to be outside.
Yeah,
I love
and
that.
that's it,
Yeah.
knowing your work preferences. Like, so a way to take off your hat or put it on, again, is just knowing your preferences. There are
Yeah.
some Spartners, spouses
Mm.
who are business partners who work together full time but
Yeah.
never see each other unless it's lunch or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
after the
Yeah.
work day
Yeah.
because they don't
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to be together.
Yeah.
Then there's other partners who have full-time job and
Yeah.
who have a part-time job
Come
together.
together.
So those are
Yep.
their date nights. So they go out, they have their date night, but then they
Yeah.
also have like their business date night, so they could
Yeah.
talk about their business.
Yep.
And so knowing your preferences and what works for you, for Troy, he needs to be outside. For me, I
Yep.
just need to be able to get work done.
Yeah.
Knowing
Yeah.
that allows you to really have that great flow between
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
life, and everything else
Yeah.
that comes in between.
And that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur is like you get to create whatever it is you want. So for us, like this whole thing that I created was called an outdoor office. So we pick cool cafes. Like I can't work in the same place. Like I need natural light. I got to move around. Some days I need to be in places where there's a ton of people, where I see other people moving, shaking, getting things done. Like I like to change up my work environment. So we'll go to parks where we set up
Mm.
Wi-Fi. Like we'll go to a ton of different places, and then we'll show you like here's a dope coffee shop. Here's what they offer, and we
Mm.
created what we called an outdoor office, and we were shooting content just around that. And like people loved it because it was inspiring other people to get outside and change up their work environments. You know?
I love that. Man, one, there's so many gems. If you're married or obviously want to be married, and this is a vision you have, I think I'm learning literally myself. Like I'm gonna listen back to this. This is the I tell people I selfishly. This is the best job in the world because I get to listen to people that I want to listen to,
Yeah.
and I get to listen to them for free, and and I listen to them before the audience hears it. It's all that's so good. The few things you said that stood out to me. Number one, of it not being work life balance but work life flow. I love that, and that has to be done intentionally. What's not written down doesn't get done. But the thing that I love to even go a little deeper into what you said there is, how at least this is kind of my interpretation of what you're saying. The challenge that is there of like, can a marriage work and be in business together? It's less about can it work, can it not work. It's that if you decide to make it work, you create the boundaries and the things that is needed to make it work. It's the same question I get all the time of like, how can will my faith diminish if I start a business, if I become an entrepreneur? Because some people, you might see an example of someone where their faith was went on the back burner when they started the business. From my experience, it was the opposite. It grew because my dependency on God, my need for God, it was like, oh no, I don't know where next week's check's gonna come in, so I need you, Holy Spirit. And I think the same thing of like my dad always used to say, when your intentions are clear, the mechanism will appear. And so when the intention, the why is clear, you don't have to worry about the how because it literally will show up when the why of this is the intention of why we're doing this because it's going to make our family better. We're going to, one could put 1,000 a flight, two put 10,000. We're going to literally multiply our efforts by doing this together, building the systems around it. Like it almost it builds itself. At least what it sounds like of like how to communicate the check-ins, all those different things. So I'd love to kind of go into that a bit of like, well, one, what's been the result? Like what's like for any married couple that's listening that like maybe they've been on the fence of it, like what's like the actual results been for the business, for your content, all those different things of you guys coming together.
One thing to say real
Yeah,
quick,
I love to hear
my
that.
heart. We know that faith without works is dead, right? I
Yes,
think the same
James.
I
Yeah.
think the same thing is true in a marriage. A marriage without work is dead. So a lot
Ooh.
of people need to understand that a lot of the things that they're already doing, those who are actually working in their marriage, not those that are just content saying, "Oh, you love me, I love you," because let's be real, that's not enough. But those that are actually
Mm-hmm.
working to be better in their marriage. So effectively communicating, trying to grow together, trying to lean into each other's strengths, trying to be more effective with their time, trying to like minimalize and simplify their life the way we do, right? So like we know simplicity scales and complexity fails. So like we just want to do a
Ooh.
good thing, right, in a marriage, which is like have
Yeah.
these check-ins. Like we cannot let these check-ins happen, but if we don't check in with each other, we don't know. We're not reading the room. I'm missing the mark on meeting whatever her needs
Mm-hmm.
are. She's missing the mark on my needs as well. So I think like you're already doing this. The couples out there that want more out of their marriage, you're already doing it. You're already running your
Mm.
marriage almost the way you would run a successful business. A lot of the things that we do in our business are the things that we just started doing in our marriage. So like when you build it on a
Mm.
strong foundation, a lot of the people that are listening need to hear that they already have the infrastructure to do this thing successfully, you know?
And I want to get back to foundation, but you said in your question, I heard faith, I heard why, I heard what's the end goal. So just a quick, and you also in the beginning mentioned our story, just a real quick snapshot of our story once we decided to work together. When we started to work together, we quickly saw how much our marriage was enriched and reached a whole level that we never knew was even possible for us.
Absolutely.
We were already happily married. We had a good relationship, committed, loyal, all the things. And then once we started working together, we're like, wow, there's levels to this
Come
marriage
on,
stuff.
man.
And so then we said, you know what? We need to share with other couples how they could work with their spouses too, so that they can have all these great things that we have.
Yeah.
And then God, as again I mentioned before, that our spiritual formation has truly skyrocketed over the course of us working together.
Yeah.
And God showed us that no, like couples are not supposed to work together so that they can have autonomy and financial freedom and build a
Yeah.
legacy. Like those are fruits.
Yeah.
But couples are supposed to work together. Couples are designed, marriage is designed to be fruitful.
Yeah.
When God created a man he created then the woman to be his partner,
Yeah.
not to just have children,
Yes.
not to
Yeah.
just keep him company,
Yeah.
but to multiply, to take
Yes.
dominion,
Yes.
to become fruitful, to
A helpmate. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
to
Literally.
put something on this earth that
Yeah.
couldn't exist without her.
Yeah.
And so we're saying, wow,
Yeah.
this is great that we get all these extra perks. We get to
Yeah.
spend time together. But more than that, we get to build and create something. And so I say to couples who are on the fence is that if you are a believer of Christ
Yeah.
and you believe in Genesis 1:26, I want to say,
Come on now.
then
Speak the word.
multiply
Yeah.
and become fruitful with your spouse, because that is
on.
what you were designed to do. You do not
Yeah.
need to do it
Yeah.
full time.
Yeah.
You don't need to do it half time. It could
Yeah.
even start with serving in your local church together
Yeah.
or joining
Yeah.
Yeah.
a nonprofit organization. But just working with your spouse is something that we've been called to do.
Absolutely.
So then I want to take it to another level, is that, as Troy mentioned, is having a solid, strong foundation, is you can and you will be successful with your marriage when you couple business with it, so long as you have a solid foundation. We know that couples, there's 22% of small businesses are run by couples.
Yeah.
And of those,
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And so of those couples, we see that couples who work together are more likely to end in divorce. Marriages who are in business together are more
10%,
likely to end
10% more
in
likely.
divorce than marriages who don't work together. So one might say, well, then why work together? The other might say, well, 20% of y'all going to end up working together anyways. So we say,
Yeah.
arm you to be successful is to ensure that you have a solid foundation,
Absolutely.
that you pray, that you worship together,
Come on.
that you align,
Come on,
and
girl.
you align your gifts, you leverage your gifts, you optimize
Yeah.
your talents together.
Yeah.
You really discuss, you unpack, you go through your beliefs, the stories you tell yourselves, your values.
Yeah.
Go to when you were 17 years old,
Mm-hmm.
share that with your spouse, because they need to know why you see things the way you do,
Yeah.
what's holding you back, why you have your imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
all the things. Like, you need to have these conversations to build a solid foundation on top of Christ.
Yeah.
And with that, you'll be able to do whatever your business is designed to do. For us, we never promise people that their business is going to make millions. That is not our guarantee. That is not our promise. If that is a fruit, awesome. But what we do promise is that if you focus on your foundation in your marriage, no matter what your business does, y'all will end up even happier than you probably were, more content and fulfilled
Yeah.
than you were at the end of it than when you were to start. Sorry, I'm just going off.
No, you just got, I'm laughing.
No, come on now.
You got me. I'm laughing because my brain works and so visual. she's telling y'all, she's
Yeah.
like, we're not telling you you're gonna be millionaires. And in my brain immediately goes to the person there's a G wagon behind them, and they're telling you how if you just start doing what they're doing, your business is gonna take off. Like, we're not telling you that
Yeah.
at all, but we are telling you with our system, with a godly foundation focused on Him, that your marriage can thrive. Like, I swear,
Yeah.
if you took us tomorrow and you put us in a cardboard box, like we would still be the happiest people as we
I
are
love
today,
that.
because we really focus on prioritizing our marriage inside of working with each other. Like, our marriage has truly, truly, truly enriched.
I love that. And that's the, like you said, that's the,
I love your
we have to define the win
vibe.
in anything. That's so good. That's so good. Yeah, we have to define the win in anything.
Yeah.
And the thing that just stood out to me, I know I quoted it earlier, of, the one that puts 1,000 to fight 10,000. That's not necessarily, that verse is not necessarily in context of marriage, but obviously we can get from that. Oh, that definitely is in marriage.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I feel like what you're suggesting is like sometimes people just miss out on that opportunity to see that in full play. Marriage is already the greatest symbol of literally the Trinity, and our relationship with God as the bride, Him as the groom. Like it's such a beautiful display, but it's like if any relationship can work in a business, I think it should be that. I mean, I've had so many business mentors tell me, it's funny, over the years they you get people who get burned by business partners and stuff, and they say, listen, you have to be so careful who you choose as a business partner, because you are literally getting into a marriage. Like when you sign that contract, like it is a literal
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
death to a part contract, and it's you have to be on the same page and all that. It's like, well, you're already doing that in marriage, and so you already got
Might as well.
so in the, at least
Well,
values and everything that's built in, it's already there. And so in so many ways, instead of looking at it as a disadvantage, you're actually at an advantage.
Yes.
It's just the way you see it.
listen, I'm not. I want to say that working with your spouse comes with a ton of perks. Like one of the, I'm not a flexer, but one flex I get is that my work wife is
Flex on them.
my work wife is my real wife, y'all. Okay?
Come on now, we don't need no work wife.
Is my real wife. We ain't got no random
I love
work
it.
wives out here in these
No side chick on the side and
no,
accounting.
no.
Yeah.
It's the main one is the only one. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And that's what we even see in Spartners that we we have in our community, is that they're like, wow, I get to know my spouse as a whole person.
Yeah.
Because typically you only get to know your spouse at the end of the day when they're tired and frustrated.
Yeah.
You get to know them on the weekend when they feel pulled in all the different directions, from whether the kids are going to whatever they're doing, golf, whatever.
Yeah.
And so you only get to really know a fraction of your spouse, as opposed to the person who gets to know them for 40 hours a week, right? And so
Yeah.
married each other for like everything. We
Yeah.
showed each other like the best parts of ourselves, the worst parts of ourselves, all the parts. And then when you get married and then you get torn into your routine, your day to day after years, you can grow apart. And we see that's one of the leading causes to divorce, is literally no longer being committed to the relationship, and not by infidelity, but by to each other, just
Yeah.
like liking each other, doing things together. And so
Yeah.
you have a business, or you go into servant leadership together, or you just do something with your spouse. At minimum, go play pickleball. But just
Yeah.
doing something
Yeah.
with your spouse to produce something gives you another edge, gives you another dimension, and just gives you another opportunity to continue growing closer to your spouse.
That's so good. That's so good. I think, we just had my boy Ron Starling on, and he said something so incredible. He said, God uses business as a character development program.
Yeah. I saw that.
And it's almost as if like, hey, God can use business as a marriage development program of it makes you work on it even more so. And I just love that, because the same intentionality you need in marriage, you need in business. And again, it might not be for everybody, right? You have to have a vision for it. But if you even have a slight vision for it, I think it's helpful to see a healthy version of it, of that. Hey, this could be beneficial. I love as I feel like a pastor saying landing the plane here. I love to hear again, like maybe some of the business results that it's produced so far that you've seen of like, oh man, yeah, I could have never done this separately, especially Troy of like, hey, her coming on, you're
Yeah.
not better half, better two third.
Yeah.
How has her coming on? What has that done for the business, the content, all those different things? I'm just
I
curious.
mean,
Honestly, selfishly, I'm curious.
dude, just like I mean, I think she's together we this brilliant storytelling ability around brands. I think that immediately when we first started working together, like she just came to the table with fresh perspective. You know, like I said, like before
Mm,
and enjoying the company, like I was doing a lot of this on my own, and she would assist sometimes. But like you get brain fog. You know what I mean? Like you're not even as
yeah,
creative anymore when you're just so tired and you feel alone doing it. And when Chantel came on, man, I mean, fresh perspective, new ideas. She got me excited again. You know what I mean? Because we can all get,
I
you're
love that.
creative. Sometimes you can get creatively blocked, but her coming on,
Yeah,
just different camera angles, things that I wouldn't do. Like I'm one of those people. Like I'm such a classic. I'm like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like brands keep
yeah, yeah, yeah.
calling what I'm doing is working. Like we don't gotta change this thing,
Right.
right? And I'll tell you that one video she did that time, I was like, nah, dog, this is it. Like I'm not stopping asking her,
I love it.
and that changed the dynamic of everything. And then again, when you go from creating like solo content to more family content, and that brings, again, that diversifies your portfolio and your offerings. Now we're not just, it's not just appeal to maybe like a financial literacy campaign or a fitness or wellness campaign or a men's mental health campaign, but maybe it's a Valentine's Day campaign or a family campaign. We just started to diversify our offerings by bringing our whole family into the business, kind of in a sort of way, which brought on
Mm,
again like just some of the biggest brand partnerships that we couldn't even imagine. Like we worked with a brand that took care of us, so like blessed us so much that like we didn't have to worry about our mortgage for 3 years, like just
my
for
gosh.
one deal. Yeah,
Hmm.
you know what I
Jeez.
mean? Like all for one deal. Brands have blessed us with the opportunity to not only just create content for them that lives on social media, but things that are in their newsletter. We've been able to come on and be consultants for brands, help them read the room better, not be necessarily
Mm,
tone deaf, how to reach certain specific audiences. We got off the phone with a brand today, and we're basically like so blessed, so honored to be doing like a diversity and inclusion at their headquarters, like flying us out
come
to
on.
speak. Like this thing has transcended just regular influencer, no disrespect, like but regular influencer and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
media marketing since coming together. Like a lot
Hmm.
of the Chantel will tell you better than I can, but her thing is nothing is wasted. So that education background, my hustle background, like some of the things, all those things have come back to truly help us in this next season,
Hmm.
to birth
I
Spartners. Like
love
that
that.
started literally from us working together. You know what I mean? Now we have
I love that.
now we're keynote speakers. We're moving. We started in one space, but this space literally just showed us that by combining together, there's no ceiling.
Right. And
Come
I'd
on.
even add on to
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we have a coursework, we have coaching. And so
yeah,
his coaching,
Wow.
my ability to design curriculum, we've really been able to just bring our gifts together,
yeah,
optimize them,
yeah,
and now produce something.
yeah,
And just to say one last thing,
yeah.
in every relationship you'll find there's usually like an extrovert and introvert, or like the party one and
Yeah, yeah.
and so I share that with us because that's something we've really been able to lean into, is that
Yeah.
he is, can like always what get the fish
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
or reel in the fish,
yeah,
or
yeah,
but once we have, so that's his part. Relational equity, relationships is
yeah,
something Troy is so strong in, and something I'm very strong in, is really being able to hear what people need and develop some sort of plan, some sort of something. So as he's listening, connecting, I'm able to take all the notes and put it together. And so that's just one
I
example
love
how
it.
business wise have we
yeah,
been really successful, because
yeah,
again, we know our lanes, we know our roles,
yeah,
we know our gifts, and
yeah.
we know how to really lean into that to maximize our offerings to our community, so
Yeah,
that way people are impacted, are empowered, and can grow.
absolutely.
Listen, on my next date, my first question is listen,
Yeah.
Are you willing to do brand deals when we get married?
Listen, and if they ain't ready for
Let's
it,
put it in fine print.
it's okay. It's not their time.
It's like, hey, we gonna read Spartners
Yeah.
together, and we gonna get on this
Yep.
and build an empire. No. I love it. I love that so much. Okay, want to land this plane here. Again, so glad you guys are here. I want you guys to talk about your book. You have a book coming out. As this is recording, this is probably going to come out around April 24th, around that time. I'd love to hear your heart about the book. Obviously, a lot of it is what we've been talking about, but love to hear, how this came about, and obviously how people can get it and get in contact with you guys.
Yeah.
So originally, we started writing this book 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and we wanted people to find the value in their spouse to become a business partner, so that way they can have autonomy, financial freedom, and purpose.
Yeah.
And through our journey, we saw that God did not want this book to come out with that messaging. And so after truly leaning into prayer, listening to where we felt like the Holy Spirit lead us, the book has transformed into truly being a book where spouses learn how to discover the business is like the hack as a way to have a deeper relationship. So similar to what you were saying before, that's exactly what this book is. And so in our book, we talk about the elephant in the room, about marriage and business just not going together, about marriage just being tough in itself, so why make it tougher? And then we share our perspective on that. We then walk people through really doing the unpacking and the work, the inner work that's needed to do to bring to the table, so that way they can come together and optimize all their strengths, their gifts, their talents, etc., and lean into each other and lean into God to steer where it is that they go. And then we end the book off by just sharing how you actually can work with your spouse, how it actually can enrich your marriage, and how it actually can really sprout a new business. Throughout the book, there are about 10 different exercises and reflective practices couples can do. This book is great for couples who are just interested in perhaps getting on an entrepreneurial journey. It's great for small groups. It's great for churches. It's great for marriage ministries who want to do book studies together. And it's really just great for a hack, an alternate way to enriching your marriage.
Absolutely.
It's like, grab this book and see if this is something for you. Because even if you're not wanting to get into business, it's still a really, really, really great marriage book. So how can people get this book?
All right, so first and foremost, go to troyandshantel.com. You can see the book there. You can join our community there, so you don't have to do this by yourself. And just feel excited about this, because honestly, Spartness is a get to. It's not a have to, but you get to do this. You get to enrich your marriage. You get to have a deeper, more meaningful connection. And we've mentioned the word legacy, but like to us, what legacy looks like is having a healthy marriage. Like, if our marriage is good, then that is going to be a direct correlation and carry over to our children and how they love and how they receive love and how they give love in the world. Join our community and allow us to help you enrich your marriage.
I love it. I'm so blessed and thankful that God crossed our paths. It was not on accident. And like I said, like, you're giving me vision for the marriage I want. And so I know for a lot of other people too, and for those who are married and have been thinking about that, I think this could be a great resource. I would highly recommend it. We're going to put the link in our description, whether it's on audio and YouTube. You guys can check it out, pre-order, or if by this time it's already out, order the book, order two for you and your spouse to both read, you know what I mean? And just let's support these guys. But thank you for being on the show. I know it is you got kids. This is a sacrifice. It's not just like, oh yeah, like we're not doing anything. So I really appreciate it. This community, Faith Hustle, it means a lot to me. And what this is the foundations of for the years to come. I think we're going to be rewiring how people see business in the kingdom and how it is intertwined. And so thank you for being a voice on it. And I know for a fact this will not be your last time on here. I definitely can't wait to have you guys on as we hear about the success of the book in the months and months to come. But thank you guys for coming.
We appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Love what you're doing. Super tapped in. Every time I get a notification on my phone that there's a new episode, I'm ready to go. Like, I love what you're doing on social media. I love the guests. Like, God has just blessed you and his platform with some amazing guests, some really awesome stories. And we're excited, man. We're just excited to be a part of it. And you know what time it is, off the screen, off the mics. We got nothing but love for you.
Yes, sir.
Grateful.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
it's a blessing. It's a blessing. God bless y'all. And yeah, we'll see y'all on the next episode. Thank you for watching this week's episode of the Faith Hustle Podcast. We hope it encouraged you, equipped you, and got you ready for your faith hustle. If this is something that resonates with you and you want to join this community, we encourage you to subscribe to the podcast, whether it be on YouTube or on any audio platform that you listen to. Also, subscribe to our email newsletter. We put out tips every week to help your business. And lastly, if this podcast has been any encouragement to you, we want to ask if you can leave a review for us. It really helps us to get to more people so more business owners can be impacted by the community and the message. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.